Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just reacted. He's tweeted after his bilateral meeting with the US President Joe Biden. The Prime Minister tweeted to say, and I quote, "Touched by the gracious welcome at the White House, looking forward to fostering deeper ties. The diaspora support embodies India-US ties." And I want to bring in Ambassador Sajjanhar into this conversation on the diaspora support. Ambassador, the Prime Minister referred to the Indian-American community, spoke very warmly, and it's amazing, 7,000 people in and outside the White House. 7,000. The Prime Minister said this is the first time that the gates of the White House have been opened to such a large diaspora, Indian-American diaspora, to witness, in a way, history being made.
No, you're very right, Gaurav. I think the Prime Minister really spends a great deal of time speaking about the diaspora, thanking the diaspora for their contributions to strengthening relations between India and the United States. I think diaspora has a very special and a very important place as far as the Prime Minister is concerned in his heart. You would remember his first visit to the United States, that was in September 2014, to address the UN General Assembly. And he had spoken at the Madison Square Garden that time, and he really, the number of, people who turned up, of course, in addition to a large number of and also congressmen and, House of Representatives. So many of them had come.
At that time, so in fact, both Madison Square Garden and then later Stadium at Houston, Texas, reported both those. But
no, absolutely, you are very right, Gaurav, because when he addresses the diaspora tomorrow, I think it will be his 5th time in the United States. This is his 8th visit to the US, but 5th, 6th bilateral visit. So his 5th address to the Indian diaspora in the United States. And all of them have been sort of, so to say, sellout events. There have been such huge crowds, and we could see the exuberance and the enthusiasm of the Indian diaspora also today when they had come. And I think this has become a standard feature. He has been able to leverage the Indian diaspora to the advantage of the country, to the benefit of the country. And, whether it is in the United Kingdom or it is in Australia, we saw recently, or in most of the other places that he has visited.
Yes.
So I think he has really been able to capitalize upon the presence of the Indian diaspora, the way they have conducted themselves, the successful manner in which they have been able to
and 7,000 of them, 7,000 of them being at the South Lawns of White House, outside White House. All of them, General Hasnain, are voters in the United States of America. 7,000 of them who were present there. Almost 50 lakh strong, 45 lakh and counting by some accounts. So that large a diaspora, and with elections in the United States, there's a very clear signal that's also going out. Indian Americans matter even when it comes to elections in more ways than one, sir.
Obviously, and it's not just the presence of 4 million or 4.5 million members of the Indian diaspora out there, it's the quality of the people also. In the last 10 years, you've seen the kind of positions that they have occupied in government, out of government, in the corporate sector, in the corporate world, in the scientific world, in the world of research and development, in the world of literature. Almost everywhere you find, and probably the community which on an average has got the highest earnings or per capita earnings in the entire nation. Obviously such a community, and a community which has everything positive in terms of its loyalties both to India and loyalties to the United States as citizens of the United States in many cases too. They display what could be considered to be the concept of a model citizen, and that's why they are popular. And that's why political parties vie for their votes, vie for their support. making them probably the most important diaspora community in the United States today.
You're absolutely right, sir. And Abhishek, the effort is to take this relationship altogether to a new level. Get in more people from America into India, Indians into America, in the field of education, for example. That's a key focus area, and perhaps when we read the joint statement, we will know the nuts and bolts of what's forward movement there in terms of high-tech education, high-tech cooperation. American professors come to India, Indian students go and study in the US, Abhishek.
Gaurav, one big takeaway I thought that we've not touched upon till now from the Prime Minister's address is when he referred to this new cooperation between India and US as a global strategic partnership. I think that's one of the headlines that comes out of what he said. And it reflects that this is not just a trade, kind of a relationship.
Not a buyer-seller relationship.
Not a buyer-seller, export-import relationship, but it goes much beyond that. It's strategic in nature. Of course, anything to do with defense deals is definitely strategic. But even something like ISRO and NASA coming together,
yes.
Space exploration is again an area which is extremely strategic in nature. Another defense deal which is on the cards is the Predator drone deal that we've been talking about. Now, the US has not been very forthcoming when it comes to Predators. They've only given it to either NATO countries or very close military allies. Now, India is neither a NATO country or a military ally, but it's turned into a strategic partner. That's the signaling that comes out of the developments that are taking place, and we will see during the course of this visit more such takeaways that come out that clearly indicate that India and US are moving towards a strategic partnership, as the Prime Minister said.
Okay. Ambassador Sajjanhar, what according to you has been the biggest headline point, if I may, from the conversations that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden had, and of course their joint address, sir?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do at the moment, Gaurav, is basically wait for the joint declaration to come, because I think there will be many more details that are going to be there. But from the information that has been gleaned from what the Prime Minister said, I think there are issues like, first, of course, the two questions that were posed to the Prime Minister and the manner in which he responded to them. I think that was very, very sort of, setting the record straight, and that was very important. Secondly, I think in his own statement, he referred to the issue that both the countries are going to work together to deal with cross-border terrorism and to deal with extremism and radicalization. So I think this is also very significant, that the focus on terrorism, on Pakistan, on cross-border terrorism, that has not been lost when we are talking about, the enhancing cooperation between our two countries. Then coming out on the positives, I think definitely as far as the transfer of technology for the engine deal is concerned, I think that's a huge deal going forward. And the Prime Minister himself mentioned about reliable, trustworthy supply chains, stable, resilient supply chains. I think that is also huge because, it really helps India to come to a place where it wants to be, in terms of its economic development, in terms of its economic growth, so that, it is able to have a much more important, influential voice in the world today. And of course, as far as its defense preparedness is concerned, and the United States has been helping India, it has emerged really as the second or the third largest supplier of defense equipment. But now it is not only the defense supplier, it is also in terms of, co-designing and co-production, joint production in India. So I think all these taken together, semiconductors, chips, Predator drones, what was mentioned about 5G, 6G, yes, artificial intelligence and space. I think these are all huge takeaways, and these really project that this has truly an inflection point as far as relations between the two countries are concerned.